Here, or I think we're all pretty plain.
Is the lawsuit filed in Polk County limits?
Yeah, the lawsuit will be filed, I believe in Polk County. I talked with, I had an interesting, I love hands-free, with our attorney. We were talking all the way back, and I called him before I walked in here today. We have a little more information we need to gather on the other 3 people that are joining the lawsuit with me. I have 3 members that are going to join, or 3 state employees who happen to be members who will be joining us in that lawsuit. We got to get some of their personal information, and then I believe the lawsuit's ready to be filed. I don't know if you can get that done yet today, but if not, we'll be filing it in the morning.
What did you learn from the Wisconsin lawsuit?
You know what, the Wisconsin lawsuit and the Iowa lawsuit are going to be completely different because the laws are different. Heck, the Supreme Court there is different because the Supreme Court is an elected Supreme Court. They run as a partisan body. I believe we'll get a much better shape with the Iowa Supreme Court than Wisconsin did. At least that's my hope. You know, the one thing I learned from Wisconsin was everything that we have done that Tammy and I and Ken decided to do. I didn't want to turn this into a Wisconsin-style fight, right? Because it didn't work in Wisconsin. Yeah, it'd be fun to have a couple 100,000 people at the state capitol. I was there when that happened in Wisconsin. It would have been fun to sleep overnight in the state capitol. I did that in Wisconsin.
It wasn't.
Okay? But that didn't work. Look at your town halls, you know? We have people showing up in numbers that have never shown up before. Why? Because they're being attacked. They get it. Our job now, my job now, is one, how to figure out how to survive under this law. But secondly, how to make sure that my members never forget what was done to them on this day and stripping away their rights to have a seat at the table. That's all they want. They want to have a seat at the table. It's not about health insurance. It's not always about pay. It's about being able to have that conversation with the boss about stuff that's going on in the workplace that's wrong. And how do we fix it? I remember the last time the Democrats were in total control, they came to us and said, how do we save money? And we went out and found a way to save an enormous amount of money to the point that when Culver left office, there was a $700,000 surplus. Now, Terry Branstad took credit for that. He didn't do that $700,000. Chet Culver and you guys did.
Amen.
Not him. He hasn't done anything. The only thing he has done is spent it and given it away. Right? So don't tell me you created a surplus, Governor. You spent the surplus that was given to you.
Will you seek an injunction, and if so, what impact would that have on the current negotiations and the deadline for arbitration?
You know, we're going to seek whatever we can to try and stop this bill. So yeah, I would imagine an injunction is going to be part of that. I'm scheduled for arbitration on the 22nd of February with the state of Iowa. Okay, I'd have to give the state my arbitration position tomorrow by 5. They're going to give me theirs by 5. I'll be interested in seeing what theirs is. Mine is going to be, I legally can't talk about that, but we'll get it out on tomorrow afternoon because it's still confidential till I give it to them. But my position is I'm going to an arbitration on the 22nd. I don't know if the state's going to show up, but I'm going to be there. 9 o'clock, airport holiday inn. It's a public hearing. I'm going to be there. And we intend to go and let an arbitrator decide what's going on because I started this bargaining under the law that we currently have. I shouldn't have to change the rules in the 9th inning, and that's what they're forcing me to do. Change the rules in the 9th inning. And I don't believe that's fair. And so that'll probably be part of the lawsuit also when they refuse to arbitrate with us. Yeah, Jim.
Ken, what's the basis of the lawsuit? I mean, what part of the Constitution are you?
I'm not going to, let me get it filed first, okay? And then I'll be glad to answer those questions, or Mark can answer them, because I'm not giving somebody an opportunity to try to fix that, okay? I'm just telling you I'm filing one. And most of you in this room know if I say I'm going to file a lawsuit, I'm going to file a lawsuit. That's going to happen. The reason and why, we believe the law is unconstitutional. Constitutional, that's filed tomorrow, it's gonna be a public record, and I know that Maisie wants a copy of it so that we can get it out to the press as soon as it's filed. We'll get it to you, okay?
You mentioned the style of challenging up in Wisconsin. How do you prevent the impact the Wisconsin law had on unions there with the recertification requirements and the dues checkoffs? And I'd be curious to hear from all three of you on this. How do you prevent that? from
Well,
happening?
I believe if I can get the ruled on, the proposed or passed bill ruled unconstitutional, I'm not gonna have to worry about anything in that bill.
If you don't, though.
Well, if I don't, then I'll figure out how we survive. I got a contingency plan that I'm rolling out to my leadership tonight at 7 o'clock.
So let's also be clear that Wisconsin is not Iowa before this started. So in Wisconsin was not a right-to-work state. So every person that was covered under a contract in Wisconsin was a member of their union. That is not the case in Iowa. The people who are members of DAs, of AFSCME, of IFL, IBEW, ISCA, they choose to be our members already. So you have a large group of people who are taking very seriously their own personal local control that was just put on them. They have just been told that they can't have their dues deducted out of their check, but they can have their Aflac deducted out of their check, and they can have their United Way deducted out of their check. But local control on their own choice of what comes out of their check isn't theirs. So we have members in a different situation than Wisconsin members were in, who were in maybe some of their minds forced to be part of their union. So at that point, you're already looking at a membership decrease by people who are already paying an amount set for them. Our members choose to be here, and right now what has happened to them, we are feeling the love from our membership right now. Let me be pretty clear on that. Does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we're comparing apples and oranges a little bit. Tammy pointed a bunch of that out too. The other thing you gotta think about, well, we just got clubbed here in the labor movement today. We're not the only ones getting beat by this majority. We've seen the teachers get beat earlier. We're gonna see,
We're gonna get it again next week.
we're gonna, there's many cars of this train that are running down the track, and it's a fast track. Now, whether or not we're talking about teacher education, local control, our attacks on the public sector, you're looking at workers' compensation, all kinds of things are in the hopper coming out of the secret committees that have been funded by the Koch brothers. The reality is, we're not gonna do the same things that they did in Wisconsin. We're out there in communities, at forums. Our people are jacked up right now.
They're engaged.
And we're gonna keep them engaged. Because the reality is, this is not the Iowa that we're all accustomed to. I mean, this is a radical agenda that's been adopted and brought forth, and it's like we're connect the dots between Kansas and Wisconsin. And I don't think Iowans want to be part of that game. I think they want to be engaged in the process. I think that they want to say, not only do we disagree with your policy, but your process is unacceptable. And people that have not volunteered since I've been around in the labor movement are stepping forward. They're engaging. And we're going to encourage everyone to engage. There are people who are not members of any of our unions who are standing up saying this is wrong. It's wrong to attack workers in this state because everybody who doesn't sign their own paycheck, and many who do, are workers. And it's not just people who have a collective bargaining agreement with a state entity, whether a city, county, school board, whomever, that are going to be affected by this. You start taking money out of the pockets of working people, you're attacking Main Street, Iowa. The reality is when you charge all these folks money for their health care, which they probably have traded in the process of collective bargaining, every $100 that you're taking out of the pockets of workers in this state who work for a public entity, you're taking $18 million a month out of our economy. And I've heard numbers much bigger than $100 that our governor thinks is acceptable. Now, how many hundreds of millions of dollars does it take to impact the folks who have Main Street businesses? When you don't have discretionary funds, Main Street business suffers. When you don't have discretionary funds, car dealers don't sell cars. This is a bigger deal. A lot of people who are not engaged in this process now will be, because they're going to be impacted by this too.
How do you respond to the fact that this is the legislature Iowa elected?
Well, this is certainly the legislature that was elected. To say that all of Iowa was engaged, I don't think is accurate. I think there's a lot of people who were genuinely unimpressed by the choices, and they stayed home. And it's regrettable, but we've seen that happen before in prior elections. Elections have consequences. I think a lot of people are going to feel the consequences of staying home.
I would add that I don't believe any of these people ran on what they did today, last night. So while that might be who people thought they elected, who they got to see elected is a different situation. I don't want to call them liars. They don't like the terms alternative facts. I don't know what you call it. But this isn't what they said they were going to do. I saw amazing commercials about children and education for all and making it better and preschool and don't we love kids and we love the working families and none of us heard this. Many of our members have family members that are Republicans and they're very upset. Many of our members are Republicans and they are very upset. So I don't believe we saw the legislators who they said they were going to be.
Jim, I can tell you for a fact that there's a whole lot of correctional officers in this state voted for Republicans in the last election because of their values, right? Their values of guns and other things. I can guarantee you if the election was held today, knowing what they know today, they would be voting for those same people. And I am going to remind them every day between now and next November of what happened to them today. Because correctional officers in this state found out that they're second-class public employees. Right? And I will challenge, no disrespect to any police officers, no disrespect to any county folks or sheriff or state patrol. But correctional officers are involved in more fights and more dangerous situations every day behind those walls than most police officers will be involved in their career. And they're not considered public safety. Come and walk a day in one of the officers' shoes at the Anamosa State Penitentiary. And then you come and tell me what that's like when the fights break out and the tear gas has to be used and there's an inmate standing there with a 4-inch shank. Where the hell did that come from? They make that kind of stuff. And they use it all the time for themselves. And if two inmates are fighting and trying to kill one another, guess who goes and jumps in the middle of it? The correctional officer puts his own life at risk to stop that fight. So, you know, yep.
And what they were told today is that their family matters less, that their choice in a health insurance matters less, that their ability to take a vacation when it might be good for them matters less. And that's not okay. Not okay at all.
And I'm going to go, I think it was Senator McCoy that I listened to talk about the number of percentages of folks that got elected. There's a whole lot of people sitting in that chamber up there that didn't get 50% plus one of the votes in their district. Maybe they shouldn't be there because that's the standard they're putting on me. That's the standard they're going to put on Tammy. That's the standard they're putting on every public sector labor union in this state. 50% plus one of the members in the bargaining unit, not those that vote. So maybe we ought to change the law as far as elected legislators. Oops, that might affect some of my friends on the Democratic side. But I'll tell you what, I'll work harder for you, okay? We'll get you to that 50%. Because there was one Republican sitting up there that got 26% of the vote. That tells me he shouldn't be there.
We have time for one more. Or none.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and again, thank you.